Okay, so in lesson number 7 under chapter number 5 networks, we have completed the presentation. We have completed questions based on textbook content. I really do hope you have answered all these questions and uploaded your answers back over here. So now we just have two more parts to go, which is the worksheet, and then the quiz is something which you will be doing on your own. So let's get started with the worksheet. You can open the worksheet. Let's download it. So we're going to open a new window. Download. So just reminding you again, you should be familiar with it now. This is a worksheet based on questions from the past papers from 2013 all the way to 2014. Okay. So the first question on the first page, it goes as: a company keeps a record of every modification made to their database files. The name given to this record is so keeping track of every change that happens in your network. It is known as what we call a transaction log. Okay, so the answer over here is C. Okay, answer is transaction log. Some students do get confused with this word transcription. No, it is transaction. The second question: staff are also encouraged to protect their passwords. Identify 3 precautions staff should take to protect their password. So when it comes to protecting your passwords, you can write this: staff should regularly change their passwords. Okay, this is a good method. Second, we could say that the staff should not save the passwords on their computer's web browser. Okay, sometimes when you go to your web browser and you type your email and password, on top a pop-up appears asking, do you want to save password? So it's recommended you do not ever save your password, because you do not know who is going to use the computer after you. Something else that could be used is said is the staff should make sure that nobody is watching them while they are typing their password. Okay, so this is true. While typing their password, nobody should be next to you checking out what you are typing. Okay, so this is something else that they should make sure. Okay, so we have identified 3 precautions. Next one, it goes on to say: a network manager prevents users accessing certain websites. She does this by setting up what we call an internet filter. Okay, so when you have an internet filter, you can say which websites are allowed and which websites are not allowed in your network. Next question: an organization uses a virtual private network to link 2 officers. The security of data sent through the VPN link is maintained by, so in VPN the security of the data is maintained using something which we call encryption. Okay, so I have told you what does encryption do. Encryption basically scrambles the data into an unreadable form. Okay, so the same thing happens in VPN also. If you use VPN to transfer your data, if anybody in the middle gets hold of your data, they simply would not understand it. Next question, the second question of page number 2. The consultant recommends that the company installs a network on its site. Name this type of network. So we are talking about a network on one particular site. So it would be going as local area network. Okay, because it's only in one site. When Josie returns home after visiting a customer, she updates her PC from her laptop. The laptop and PC can be linked using Wi-Fi or Bluetooth. Identify 2 advantages of using Wi-Fi rather than Bluetooth. So this is a question you should be quite familiar. We learned this in depth in chapter number 4, digital communication. So 2 advantages of Wi-Fi. You can go on to say Wi-Fi has a longer signal range than Bluetooth. Okay, and second, you can go on to say Wi-Fi has a higher bandwidth than Bluetooth. Okay, so these are two advantages. You can also mention Wi-Fi has a higher level of security than Bluetooth. Next, moving on, Josie connects her laptop wirelessly to her home network. The home network has internet access. Identify the hardware device that is necessary to connect the home network to the internet. So the hardware device that connects your home local area network to the internet is what we call a router. Okay, so we use a router in between the home network to connect to the internet. Okay, so you can write router, you can also write gateway, but since they have specifically mentioned hardware, the best answer would be a router. Identify two other requirements to enable connection to the internet. Okay, so you have a router, two other requirements that you will require. So the first thing you will need is Josie would need to have a subscription to an internet service provider. That is one thing she will need. Okay, having a router is not enough. The router has to be connected to an internet service provider. Okay, so Josie will have to be paying her internet service provider to provide her with an internet connection. Okay, so once she is connected to the internet, in order to surf the internet, she would, for example, require a web browser. And we want to say Josie would require a web browser to surf the internet. Okay, this is something else that can be mentioned as well. You can also want to mention that her devices would require a network interface card in order to connect to the router. Okay, that's another requirement that can be mentioned over here. It is important that Josie takes steps to protect her wireless connection. When connecting her laptop to the network for the first time, Josie is prompted to enter a key. Explain the purpose of a key. Okay, so we told you the name of the key that is used for wireless connections can be of two types. It can be the WEP or it can be WPA. Okay, and both these keys, what do? They encrypt your data. So the purpose of the key is, you can go on to say, the purpose of the key is in order to encrypt or decrypt the data transmitted over the network. Okay, so this is the simple function of the key. It encrypts or decrypts the data. So one type of key which may be used is WEP. Okay, this is wireless encryption protocol. Then one other type of key we can mention WPA. Okay, which stands for Wi-Fi protected access. And we need to know, or we should be knowing, WEP is less secure than WPA. Actually, there has been another version of WPA which is even more secure, which is WPA-2, Wi-Fi protected access 2. Moving on to the next question. Sandacrom Community Center is used by people of all ages and abilities. The center has a small network of PCs with internet access. Users can also connect laptops and other mobile devices wirelessly to the network. Okay. State the piece of information that is used to uniquely identify a laptop when it is connected to the center's network. So the piece of information that is used to uniquely identify a laptop. So we did learn it would be IP address. Okay, you can mention either IP address or you can mention MAC address, because both these addresses are unique for every device. You cannot mention device name because device name is not unique, because sometimes two devices can have the same device name. So the answer can be the IP address or MAC address. Okay, please make sure you mention only one answer. Do not mention both the answers. When a user connects a laptop to the center's network for the first time, they are prompted to enter a network key. Explain how the network key is used to secure data transmitted wirelessly. So we did learn it in the previous questions. We told you the network key is used to encrypt or decrypt the data. So over here they're asking us to explain how the network key is used to secure data transmitted wirelessly. So you can say the network key, we can go on to say the data emitted by the center's network is encrypted which means that the laptop would not understand any of the data from the network. In order for the data to be understood, the network key has to be entered, because once the network key is entered, the data becomes decrypted and the laptop would be able to understand the emitted data. Okay, so if a network is having a Wi-Fi password, if it is having a key in it, it means the data is encrypted. Okay, so your laptop would not understand it until you put the network key. Once you put the network key, then the data becomes decrypted, so then your laptop would be able to understand the data. Improved security is one advantage of using a wired rather than a wireless connection to access the network. Identify 3 other advantages of using a wired rather than a wireless connection to access the network. So this is once again very much connected to chapter number 4, digital communication. So one advantage is the security. They're asking us for 3 other advantages. So we can first start off with wired connections have a higher bandwidth than wireless connections. Okay, so this is your first advantage. Second advantage, you can say wired connections are not affected by physical obstacles. This is your second advantage. Your third advantage could also go on to say wired connections are not affected or are not interfered by other electromagnetic signals. Okay, so other electromagnetic signals will not be a problem to your wired connection. Okay, so these are 3 benefit or 3 advantages that you could mention. Next one, it goes on to say the network administrators of Sandcrom Community Center are concerned about the security of data on the network. Okay, describe the concerns that the network administrators may have and identify steps they can take to reduce the risks to the security of data. Okay, so we're talking about a community center over here. They're worried about their data on the network. So the question is asking us, what are the concerns that they would have and what are the steps that they could take to reduce the risk to reduce the risks to the security of their data. So over here, it's always good to do a simple mind map. So I'm going to open Notepad over here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to identify a few concerns that they should be having and a few solutions. So concern number 1 is viruses. Okay, so their solution to viruses would be so let me do it like this. The first problem is viruses, antivirus software. Also, they'll have to regularly update virus database. Okay, so these are solutions for viruses. Then we can also have another problem, which is hackers. So your solution to hackers could be install a strong firewall. You could also talk about when it comes to hackers. Okay, let's keep that there. Another problem is data theft. Your data could be stolen online, so then you could encrypt your data, or you can say password protect the computers. Okay, so what else can we talk about when it comes to concerns on a network? Okay, so one is viruses, hackers, data theft. Okay, we can also talk about phishing. Okay, so when it comes to phishing, what can you do to minimize it? Do not click on links from suspicious emails. Do not click. Do not reply to suspicious emails. So they're giving you 6 marks. I'm going to go with 3 points: viruses, hackers, data theft. Okay, so let's start writing our answer. So let's keep this Windows left and keep this on the right hand side, and we can zoom out. So we can go on to write the network administrators would be concerned that viruses could enter the network from the internet and from removable storage devices such as pen drives. Okay, once a virus enters the network, it could automatically spread to all connected computers. Okay, to minimize this risk, okay, the network administrators must make sure they have a strong antivirus software installed, and this software has its virus database regularly updated so that it would know how to deal with new viruses. Okay, so this is our first point. We're talking about viruses. We spoke about the concern, and then we also spoke about what they can do to minimize their concerns. Okay, then we can also go on to speak about hackers. When it comes to the network being connected to the internet, a major concern would be that hackers could break into what's the name of the organization? Into Sandcrom's network. To minimize this problem, strong firewalls could be installed on the network. Okay, you can also go on to say furthermore data theft can take place on the network. Okay, better to explain a little bit what data theft is all about. Data theft meaning that confidential information stored within the network could be stolen. To minimize this risk, the network administrators must use encryption. Okay, must use encryption so that even if the data is stolen, the hacker would not understand any of the data. Okay, also you can go on to say they could also put login passwords for all the computers in the network. Okay, so then you can finally give a conclusion. I believe if they use the security methods mentioned above, they could minimize many of the risks that their network would face. Okay, so I'm sure you guys will have much more different answers. Okay, I have just taken just a few. Okay, they're giving 6 marks, so I took 3 points and gave a solution for each of those points. You can have different set of points. Okay, that's up to you. Okay, but please do make sure you get a mind map first. Okay, get something like this. Okay, you can do it on a piece of paper. It's much more easier. Okay, try and put down all the points you can think of and then start writing down your answer. If you do have any other questions, please feel free to message me or drop a comment in the classroom. Okay, I'll be more than happy to answer your questions. Once you finish this, please make sure you save your work and then go back into the classroom and upload your answers back over here so that I could just have a look at it. Okay, and then once you're done with that, please do try and attempt this quiz. To do it on your own, and once you answer it, please do upload your answers back over here. Okay, this is for the quiz I'm talking about. Okay, thank you very much then.